so here's the deal. Interviewing for coding jobs is backwards, and I think we all know this. But we continue to follow these same tips, tricks, and advice in hopes that we'll just magically land a job as a self-taught programmer. In the words of the great Albert Einstein, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Today, we are going to make Albert Einstein proud by talking about the 3 interview habits that are hurting you as a self-taught programmer. Hey everyone, my name is Dylan. In 2020, when the pandemic hit, I began to teach myself how to code. About a year and a half into my journey, things finally started to come together for me to where I was getting interviews and job offers with some really cool companies, one of which is the startup that I currently work for today as a full-time programmer. It's been over 2 years since my journey first began, and my life has completely changed. On my channel, I talk about the countless lessons that I've learned along the way. So kick back, enjoy the ride, and hit that subscribe button. Let's jump in. All right, so stop studying everything. Let me put you onto some advice. Being really good at the job is completely different from being really good at interviewing. So for interviews, you should really only study what you need to know to pass them. I've mentioned this in other videos, but basically companies will often over communicate what they want out of candidates. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, Node, SQL, MySQL, your dad's SQL, just everything. They want you to know basically a million different languages and a million different technologies, right? This is basically a dream board of requirements that companies post. They're not necessarily looking for somebody who exactly fits the bill. If anything, they're actually looking for the opposite. So people who have strict and strong domain knowledge of the core 2, 3, 4 technologies that are listed. Everything else they expect that you'll likely just learn on the job. You'll pick it up as you go. So don't worry too much about being qualified. Do the research necessary to understand what are the questions asked specific to the role that you're applying to, and just get impressively good at answering those questions, both technical and soft skills. How do you find out what questions are asked though? I would turn to popular sites like Glassdoor and LeetCode and anything sort of in that ecosystem that will help you to better understand the questions asked in the interview. Oh, you can also reach out to current employees at the company. Maybe you have a friend who works there who can lend you some insight into what the interview process is like, what are the questions that are asked in interviews, etc. All right, stop being overly eager. This is a big one. If you're interviewing with a company and you're planning to interview with a company in the future, they're really only looking for a couple of things. Number 1, adequate technical skill set, and number 2, they're just looking for good chemistry. I think a lot of self-taught programmers, including myself, when we're interviewing and applying to jobs, we're trying to be some sort of technical messiah, like create these crazy projects and stand out as much as we can. I think that this is just putting unnecessary pressure on yourself, and you don't need to be the technical messiah to stand out. Basically, my point is that you should stop bending over backwards before, during, and after the interview. Try to relax as much as you can and just be yourself, because honestly, that's the best way to interview, not by being so overly eager. Basically, if it's meant to be, then it's just meant to be. That kind of leads into the next point. Stop trying to get the job. I mean, you should try when you're interviewing and applying, but honestly, the best strategy here is to treat every interview as practice for the next interview. You're focusing on the process, and as a side effect, you will get the next round interview and eventually the job offer. Basically, this whole idea of treating every interview as if it's practice for the next, it alleviates the pressure of you really thinking about performing well and trying to get the job and focusing on the end result. This mentality just lets you relax, knowing that in the back of your mind, the outcome really isn't as important. You're just excited to be there, just getting some experience in and enjoying the moment, enjoying the process, enjoying the interview. Interviewers, more likely than not, will pick up on this sort of humble, relaxed attitude, and they'll like that. People really like this because think about it. A lot of the interviewees that come in to interview aren't really like that. They're really wound up and stressed out, and they try to impress, and they're trying really hard. So if anything, it's a breath of fresh air. Think about it if you were the interviewer. All right, so to sum it up, number 1, stop studying everything. Understand what questions are asked in the interviews and get impressively good at answering them. 2, stop being overly eager. You don't need to bend over backwards for any company or any role. Just try your best, be yourself. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. 3, stop trying to get the job. Treat every interview as if it's practice for the next, and trust me, you'll have more offers than you can honestly imagine because you're so focused on the process and just getting interview experience. These interview habits were things that honestly I struggled with, and I really tried to think of things that would help other people. So I'm hoping that this did help you today. And if it did, give this video a thumbs up, and obviously feel free to drop a comment and hit that subscribe button. Let me know about any other habits that you've been struggling with in the interview process. Maybe I can address them in the next video. Until then, thank you so much for joining. Peace out. I'll see you guys soon.